Hi everyone, this is Catalin, and in this video I'm gonna share my story of how I went about finding what I find to be meaningful and what I find to be, let's say, a better alternative to what most people call happiness. So here we go. I guess the first story that will illustrate my personal experience, and I think this is a rather important topic to get clear first. This is not an academic video, or this is not something that I'm telling you what to do. It's more like this is what I've done, this is what my personal story is and what has worked for me. And if some other people find something that's helpful in them, that's very, very good. So for me, I remember when I was 15 or 14 and I started to become really aware of myself and my thoughts and my actions and all these things. Until that point, I wouldn't say I was. And what was strange to me was, number one, none of my friends seemed to worry about what should I do with my life, what makes me happy, what's meaningful to me, what I like doing. Everybody was kind of going about their business, in that case, school, not really worrying about any of these things. So I really found that to be strange. And I also found it hard to share my thoughts about this endeavor that were rather deep, let's say, to other people. So I was kind of like on this quest at that time, because I haven't read at that point, I hadn't read authors or people talking about this thing. So I was kind of like in a strange environment, like, isn't everybody thinking about this, right? I found it so obvious to me, though I didn't really have words for it at the time. So that was one thing. The second thing that was interesting was when I started looking up, and thank God I had Google at the time, I started looking up on like, how do I find out what I should do with my life and all these things. When I started to look these things up on Mr. Google, let's say, what I found was there was so much confusion around words, like do what you love, do what you like, do what you're passionate about, do what you find meaningful, do what makes you happy. It's like, what? So many words that don't really mean anything because they get washed off, I think, like a lot of other words like love and all these other things. So that was very confused. That was the second thing that was confusing. So for me, after like doing all of that, the first thing that I've done that worked was actually stop looking for answers outside of myself. And what I did give it a try was, what if I just take a notepad and just sit by myself for as long as I can, let's say in the next couple of weeks, and see what I can come up with. And it was really just a place of self-reflection that I don't know why I did, but I did. And I sat in silence for hours, really. Complete silence in my room, and did a bunch of stuff and tried to figure out, like, make a list of the things I liked, make a list of things I didn't like, make a list of things that I was interested in, and all these other things. And then I started to intersect them together. Like, here's things I'm exposed to, here's things I like, here's things I don't like, here's things that I think are valuable in the world. And I started to intersect them together. And later on, I found that there's this thing called ikigai, that there's basically these Venn diagrams that you put together, and it's basically that, well, much more developed and comprehensive. But from that analysis, for me, what came out was I was very interested in people rather than things, and I was always observing people and trying to understand why they do certain things and how they do certain things and things like that. I was also very interested in aesthetics, like anything that was beautiful, rather visually appealing, was attractive to me for some unknown reasons that are still unknown, rather. And I had all these sorts of other things. I also listed, like, I was very interested in the internet and understanding how it worked. Not so technically savvy, but fast learner, so could learn about the internet very fast. So I intersected those things, and at that time I came up with the idea to do an e-commerce shop to sell fashion online, because that's kind of like intersecting all of those. And that's what I did when I was about 16 and a half, and was one of my first, let's say, entrepreneurial endeavors, if you might call them that way. For me, it was just a painful experience, but through which I learned a lot, if I might be wise about it now. But regardless, that was the first thing I did that worked. And that kind of was one of the first domino pieces that led to everything else that happened afterwards, led to me getting more interested into marketing, learn about advertising, learn about business and everything else. I would say a couple of things that I've observed when it comes to my understanding of finding the thing that you should do. First off, that thing needs to be something that can go across sectors. It cannot be a thing. Like, if I really liked dancing when I started ballroom dancing when I was 12 or 13, and I danced for 5 or 6 years of my life very intensely, I realized that it was not exactly dancing that I liked. It was not that small thing. It was not the pen that I liked. It was expressing myself creatively and overcoming my limitations that I liked. So I understood that there has to be something at a meta level, at a higher level, that is that passion, that meaning thing that I should be seeking. That's number one. Number two, I also realized that if I am to do something for the rest of my life, it has to be something that's sustainable, right? And what I found with the things that I was engaged with was that they were pulling me towards them, which was rather weird because I was not the one controlling that event. So it was something else that was pulling me towards it. So first off, it was something at a meta level. It couldn't be something that's very, very specific because that didn't make sense. Also in the past, I mean, jobs kept improving in the last 300 years, 500 years, 1,000 years, 5,000 years. They kept changing. So it cannot be that your passion is a shoemaker. It's your passion is something about shoemaking. That's interesting. The other thing was what I just described. Now, if we're looking at the science now, here's a really beautiful theory that I think you will enjoy. So Carl Jung, a very, let's say, rather unconventional psychologist that I do enjoy, and I've read as much as I could of Jung, which is not a lot because Jung wrote a lot. Jung has this idea of the circumambulation of the self. And now here's how this works. So his idea is that instead of your life going from point A to point B, your life is basically going around a circle until you get to the main point of convergence, which is your true self, which is the place of individuation, of maximum development. Now, one of the things he said, and I'm paraphrasing this, and I think this is in his collective works, the collective unconscious, I'm butchering this, but one of the things that he mentioned was the way you know you're getting closer to yourself, to your like maximum development, is that you get a sense of meaningful engagement. When I heard that, it blew me away completely, because it means that I'm here right now. I can't see the mountain in front of me. I can't see what will happen in 5 years. I don't know that me doing this video is gonna be of any good, but if it feels meaningfully engaging, then it is the right path, even though it seems like a detour to get me to my maximum point of development. And this maximum point of development is by definition good for you, good for your family, good for your community, good for the world, good for the human race, and for the universe as a whole. So that's one thing that just blew me away. Meaningful engagement is what should be guiding our lives. And when we're thinking about this, it seems to me that it's kind of like a meta goal, right? So it's a fact in psychology that most of our positive emotion in life is created from going towards desired goals that we are having, right? So I want to get a certain level of income, I want to get the house, I want to get this, I want to do that, right? I want to become this. Our positive emotion is generated in that process towards that. But meaning seems to be the meta, seems to be the thing that you can use to know if you're getting closer to your meta goal, to the goal of goals, let's say, which is to become your maximum self that you could possibly be. And that's it. So that's my experience, long video. One additional point, and we'll call it a day. What I found fascinating as well was, as I'm developing this understanding about these things, because I'm nowhere finished. I'm learning as I'm doing all these things. I found a very interesting book called Greatness Cannot Be Planned, which is a computer science book about artificial intelligence algorithms. And this book basically says that algorithms in computer science, they are built on the fact that you give an algorithm an objective and you reward it to get closer to an objective. See the parallel with life? Point A, point B, and you kind of reward yourself if you think you're getting closer. Okay, so bear with me. Now the next thing he tried, it was a what if experiment. Like, what if that's not the only way to do things? And he found a way in which he gets an algorithm, the only goal, to do something that's new. That's it. No point B, no point C, no objective. Just do something that's new. How would that translate in human life? It would be interest, it would be novelty, right? It would be a sense of meaningful engagement. So he basically found that for a set of problems, this algorithm that he calls it novelty search works tens of times better than objective-based algorithms. For others, it works a lot less. And specifically, if you're trying to innovate, if you're trying to do something that's 5, 6, 7 steps ahead, doing something that's objective-based, in which you really specify how you're measuring progress and all these things, is not going to be effective. But if you're doing something that's one step ahead of you, like getting from here to the door, you can have an objective about that and be very, very clear. So those two things are very funny to me because they seem to be talking about the same thing. Carl Jung and this book seem to be talking about the same thing. And they're basically saying that for meta goals, for things that are beyond our understanding, beyond our computational power, the best thing to do is to follow what's meaningfully engaging to us as human beings. That's it. So hope that is at least somewhat helpful. There's no way in the world that this would be made very, very clear, as this is a very nuanced and kind of like vague topic, but I hope this was beneficial, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.